All right, another episode of Conversate After Dark. Tay, what's up with you?
Everything's going great with me. What's going on with you?
It's all good. It's all good. Tell people they can find us.
You can find us at Conversates After Dark everywhere. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or you have a topic you want us to cover, you can reach us at CVAD, the podcast at gmail.com.
That's right. Go to our website, www.conversateafterdark.com. Listen to our past episodes. Make sure you tell a friend. All right, Tay, let's do the icebreaker.
All right. What did you observe from porn that you later realized was unrealistic? How did you make this discovery?
Mm. That's a good question. I'll say 69. That's a ripoff. I think we talked about that before. But that right there, that's a all that I can't concentrate that a lot of women do. Like you find out real quick, like, nah, man,
Mhm.
this ain't the biz. This ain't the biz. I also think sex with food, like it's okay to try one time, but then once you figure out how like messy it is, like, during and the cleanup, like it loses
Mhm.
its luster real quick. So just off the top of my head, I would say those two.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on those. And men can't concentrate all the time on 69 either. But that's a different story. The first thing that came to my mind was all that daggone hollering that the women be doing.
Oh yeah, the fake,
Yeah, and that stuff annoys me now. So I don't always like to watch the professional porn anymore because of the fake
yeah.
moaning and hollering and stuff.
Yeah. Hood porn is my go-to. The
Yeah.
more manicured, heavily produced porn. Nah, I'm not into that. But I ain't gonna lie though. I listen, women who are overly emotional and responsive to stuff, sometimes in a regular setting, that could be a tad bit annoying, but they usually translates into them being like super fun in the bed because
Okay.
I like a lot of talking and hollering and shit talking and all that type of stuff. Like if you just like some women just moan a lot, some women are quiet. Um, that's not my preference, especially if you're quiet. Like I need some passion in what we doing, and if I'm doing my job right, that's what you should be doing. You know what I'm saying? But I've had a couple times where it was like, this ain't it, dude.
Yeah, I had that conversation recently with somebody about not liking guys who are quiet.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I got an ego. I admit that. I need to I need to know I'm doing a good job. So
And it's just more fun when y'all talking to each other. To me, it
yeah.
is like,
I don't even need the talking, but the moaning, the noises, and that stuff turns me on. So if you want to have if the guy wants to have a more enjoyable time with me, give me the feedback. Because if not, I'm gonna quit.
most of the time though, that's an easy way to finish it. Like if you start saying the right stuff, it's like if you know the right stuff to say, I'll speak for me. And I'm gonna assume a lot of other guys, if you're able to talk the right type of shit, it's gonna go ahead and end the session because it's gonna get him right where he needs to be.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
I saw I shared a meme where it said when she says give me that nut, that means that pussy's tired. Is that true, Tay?
I've never told anybody that, so I wouldn't know.
You just greedy. You just want shit to last for 3 or 4 hours.
No, no, it's actually not because of that. It's because of not wanting to get pregnant outside of marriage. So that's really all it's about. And I can only count um confession time. Um I only remember one time in my life of ever somebody ever doing that in me. And it was an accident because he didn't pull out fast enough. So he was pulling out and just didn't pull out fast enough. So yeah.
He tried to get that
One time in my whole life.
he tried to get that one last stroke.
Yeah, and it didn't work out.
That
But yeah, so I've never told a guy that, so I wouldn't know. My go-to if I wanted to end early is to talk, you know. Not to say that though.
Hey, listen, I've shot up the club at multiple venues, and it's the best. But as I have gotten older, um, number one, you just can't do that randomly and willy-nilly like I used to when I was a little bit more reckless. And then I like to have like a part two. Um, and I've learned to appreciate my women keeping their pH balance in balance.
Hmm.
And a lot of time, if you shooting it up multiple times, you're gonna throw that all the way off. So I know it's fun, and sometimes, she may want that, but you gotta be a little bit more considerate in what you're doing.
I agree. Plus, my thing with people just shooting it up, that's when guys and women start having them crazy baby mamas and baby daddies that they really don't want, but oh well, you didn't take the precautions.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. My cousin Carol said yes. So, Carol, I hate that I read your answer, but you grown. Shout out to Carol. So that made me. So we talking about stuff that we like. So that made me think about a question. You know, we're in our. I'll talk for myself. I'm in my late 40s, and I'm single, and I'm divorced. Been divorced going on 3 years now. And one of the things that you learn, like when you get divorced and you're all of a sudden back into the dating world and you're having to decide like who am I going to be with, what type of partner am I going to settle down with, if I'm even willing to settle down, is what do you like? And I think for most of us that are in my position, now that you speak from your position afterwards, you find out real quick what you don't like, but then sometimes it's hard to determine what you do like. So then you go through these exercises where you try to like come up with a list of, I had a friend who recommended come up with your non-negotiables, things that you will not deviate from. And like for me, it's gotta be a black woman. Uh I, she can't wear wedge heels. I hate that shit. You know, you know what I'm saying? I've added one, Tay. If
Oh
she
Lord.
does not like Mary J. Blige, it ain't gonna work. Ain't gonna work. Because I'm Mary J. Blige's biggest and number one fan.
Right.
And some people don't appreciate, how Mary sings. And if that's you, we ain't gonna be compatible because you're gonna hear Mary all the time. If she comes in concert, I won't want to go. And your smart comments and negativity about Mary ain't gonna work for me. So that's another non-negotiable. But my question to you is, at the age that we are at, have we got to a point where our standards are too high? I saw this, I can't remember now. Her name is Kendra G. She's got her own dating show. And she said that we need to start accepting some things from people, imperfections or whatever, or we're just going to be alone. And to me, that somewhat sounds like settling. And I don't feel like I need to settle just to have somebody who I am compatible with. But what's your opinion? Are our standards too high nowadays?
I think for some people they can be. But what I have always believed is that everybody's going to have things that you don't like. We can't get around that. Unless you date yourself and you might get on your own nerves. So, but you're always gonna everyone you meet, you're gonna find something that you do not like. So my thing was always, what does this person do that I don't like, but I can live with? I think that's what people miss. They tend to focus on the negative things and say, well, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that. Maybe you could if you just, what about the other qualities that might overlook that? I think that's what people miss. But I do think especially in this day and age with social media and people playing the comparison game, I think that tends to heighten that your standards being too high.
I was going to ask you if social media is contributing to this, with our standards being out of proportion and being extra choosy on the type of person that we want to be with. You think social media really has an impact on that?
Yes, definitely. It's that thing of having too many choices where you just kind of get stuck in, I don't know where to go because there's so many people out there. I think that. all of that contributes to it. And like I said, playing a comparison game. Comparison is a thief of joy. That whole thing. It
Mhm.
all of that is true. Once you start seeing, well, this guy treats this woman this way. I want that. Well, you don't know what they had to do to get to that point. So
Right.
you can't always compare what you have and what your relationship is with what they had. Plus, years ago, we did, our worlds were smaller, so we had to pretty much pick who was around. So, your standards couldn't be too high because you had a small, area to choose from.
Or you had to leave.
Yeah, yeah.
You had to change venues. And,
Hmm.
you know, to me as a person who's moved around a lot, I've been in that position. And sometimes that could be overwhelming, especially like if you like want to be in the church. I remember one time I went to this church. I was trying to find a church home, and as soon as I walked in, all the women kind of like, it was a small church, so they were just like kind of, hey, how you doing? I was just like, okay, they really friendly. And then the pastor got into the pulpit, and he was like, I told y'all if we prayed, God would bring a man to our congregation. I was just like, oh no, this ain't this is just a little bit too much. And to your point in terms of comparing, I say comparison, and comparing. I remember when I first got married, I made the mistake of telling my then wife at the time, well, so and so's wife does this for him. And that was a huge mistake because she also did a lot of stuff that would probably drive me up the fucking wall were she my wife, right?
Hmm.
And I learned real quick not to make that comparison because number one, had my wife at the time did that to me, I wouldn't like it. And then number two, you learn your relationship, your marriage is yours, and it's not going to be like anybody else's. There may be some, core standards, non-negotiables, like we mentioned, that you have to stick to, but it's not going to be the same. Because I may date, this person, and then I may be this type of man, and then I may date you, Tay, and I'd be a completely different type of man. The
Hmm.
the the root of me is still the same, but what that woman brings out of me is different.
Right, right. I get that. I remember being in a relationship one time, and I tend to mirror energy. And it's not something I do on purpose. It just happens. I remember a friend of mine called me, a male friend, and he was a kind of guy who had this he was high energy, like everything, like it seemed like he might have been on adrenaline like all the time. That's how his energy was. And so I was talking to him and I was mirroring that. And the guy that I was dating at the time, I think he got a little jealous because I wasn't like that with him. But his energy was like mine is normally, like low key and chill. So that's how I was with him. So he thought I was, that was a bad relationship anyway. So,
But here's the thing though.
what?
You and I kind of talked about the ethical non-monogamy. Boy, I told some people about me in the ethical non-monogamy and the judgment that came from that. Man, it was tough. It's hard in those streets. But I'll say this: a lot of times, your partner possibly being physical with somebody else may or may not bother you. Jealousy may happen. But I'm gonna tell you, if you hear your gal on the phone with somebody else, keying and laughing all loud, and you sitting there like, I don't know, that motherfucker ain't that funny. You know what I'm saying? You don't laugh at that shit'll make you more jealous than that other stuff. Am I lying?
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. I can agree with that.
You don't smile that wide when you with me. Why you he called and you smiling? What's up with that?
Oh gosh, I can see that.
I'm just keeping it real. So Darius said, if she's a Cowboy fan, then I can't date her. I feel you on that.
I feel you on that too. If he's a Cowboys fan, that's a no-go for me.
I probably begrudgingly because I don't really fuck with the NFL no more anyway. But the Cowgirls aren't a rival of my former team.
Mhm.
But they're still the fan base is annoying. I live in the Dallas Fort Worth area, so I'm exposed to it all the time. I probably could deal with it. I can see why you couldn't. Um, I think the only affiliation that I just really could not deal with, if she was MAGA, mm-mm,
Oh yeah,
not at all.
that's a no-go.
No, she was MAGA. Not one bit. Mm-mm, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. But I got a question for you, Tay, and I've been asking people this, and nobody's been able to give me an answer. So we're friends. We're friends on social media. You see my page, and I tend to joke a lot on my page. But I was talking to this person, and we had interactions in the past, and every now and again we link up, hang out, or whatever. And she always makes this comment about the possibility of us not being in a relationship isn't likely because I have too many fans. And I'm assuming because there's a lot of conversation because I made jokes or whatever on my page, and a lot of those people who comment are women. That's what she is talking about. But have you been in a situation with a guy who you said, you know what, he got too many fans, he got me too many people who like him, or he's too popular? Has that ever been an issue for you?
Um, Too popular.
And what does it mean by fans? Like, I still don't understand that. I'm assuming just
Right.
because a lot of women like kiki kaka to the shit I say. Maybe that's what she means by fans, but that goes with like popularity or whatever. So is that a problem?
I've never low key local area popularity. I've never had an issue with. Now, I did when I was younger. I did have a thought that I would probably never date somebody famous because they have too many fans and these women are ruthless. But I will say that I've had guys say that to me though. Like, because, especially back when I was in my flirtation stage, and just because I'm just nice to everybody. If somebody talks to me, I think it's rude to have a rude comeback or not say anything. So, in groups on Facebook or social media, on my pages, whatever, I will hold conversations with people. So, I've had guys say that to me too, that, oh, you got too many people after you. Nobody's after me. We're just having a conversation. Like, it is what it
And
is.
that's
I
the
think
thing
that's
though.
insecurity.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that it really ain't a lot of people taking that next step to try to holler at you, especially
Right.
if you a dude. Now, I can see women like if we compare Marv to Tay, I can see how there are probably more people who are in your inbox than in mine. 'Cause I think it's easier for women to get men than it is for men to get women in certain venues or what have you. So I mean, I can see why it would kind of make them a little bit uneasy. But if you're secure with your woman and that she likes you and she's not entertaining every single person that comes her way, you shouldn't be jealous by that. Like somebody said, like, so Tay, be honest, answer this question on the regular when you're out and about day to day throughout the week. How many times do you get hollered at or flirted with?
Nowadays, none, because I'm not I'm not out and about like
Go
that.
back to when you was when before the pandemic and we was out and about and regular. What was regular?
Um, it depended on how I was dressed. It depended on a lot of things. But I mean, I could say
We
that
holler at chicks when
are
they
we are we
special
including
feature.
social media?
Hmm.
Are we including social media?
Yeah, yeah, definitely social media.
And I would say at least one guy every week. That was common.
So one
Yeah,
guy every week,
yeah. I would say at least,
and that's probably low. That's probably low. It's probably more like five guys a week. Um, so that's what 250, 260 guys a year. If somebody said, "You really think your girl's turning down 260 guys?"
Yes. Because who wants 260? I'm not even going to finish that comment. Yeah. So yes, yes, I can turn down 260 people.
Yeah, Yeah.
Because the quality will never be as great as quantity. I mean, quantity will never be as great as quality. So just because it's a numbers game, that don't mean that the dudes are quality.
That's true. Yeah, my ex was extremely attractive, and she used to get hollered at all the time, and I wasn't ever threatened by it because she always handled it appropriately. Now, if I felt that she was a little bit too like conversational, because like you said, you don't have to be rude or what have you, but you can, there's ways to handle it and be like, hey, yeah, let me introduce you to my man, or let me introduce you to Marvin or whatever. There's ways to handle it or let somebody know, but yeah, you can't let that just make you insecure. I've lived a life back in the day when I wasn't comfortable in my skin. I was insecure, and always trying to be controlling or whatever with my woman and jealous and all that type of shit. Let me tell you something, fellas. That ain't the way to live. You need to get you a woman that you can trust, and if you can't trust her 100%, then you just don't really need to be with her, bro. Go be by yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I can't be with somebody I don't trust.
Yeah.
That's a no go for me.
So piggyback. We said our standards are too high, and I don't know, Tay. I'm getting to a point where I'm thinking about just pulling out the dating game. Um, I'm pretty busy with some projects I work on. I got podcasts with you. I got the Man Listen podcast. I got some other stuff, major stuff that I'm working on. Work, still dad to some grown ass kids, and the I've been in a couple of relationships since I've been divorced in the 3 years I've been divorced. But things happen and it doesn't go. I've seriously contemplated just like, you know what, let me just pull out the dating game. And just focus on me. That cliche statement. Have you ever gotten to that point?
I've done it a few times, a couple times in life. The first time was mid 20s, right before I met my second relate the guy I was in a second relationship with. And it just got to a point where I just got bored with the getting to know you phase. Whereas right after my first boyfriend, when really got out into the dating world, like that was the fun part, like getting to know new people, making new friends or no, it not going, that was always fun for me. And then at some point, it just got boring. And I was like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. And then I met the guy that I was in a relationship with. And now it was just after a relationship ended and I just didn't feel like dealing with you humans.
Who you mean by you humans? Go ahead, say it.
The male species of humans.
Now, see, if a man said that, people would be like, something wrong with him.
I wouldn't say that. Because I get it. When you're done wrong in a relationship, it kind of, and I've never been this girl until now. It kind of taints you a little bit to other people.
Well, let me tell you something. I appreciate the fact that you don't operate like one of these bitter women who have been done dirty. You still manage to keep a pleasant personality and you're not out here terrorizing us like these other chicks are. So I appreciate you. Salute. Salute, salute.
Oh, I
I,
was saying stuff. People just think if stuff I was saying was going over people's heads, but I was definitely throwing shade a few couple years ago.
I don't know. I mean, you've never been unpleasant from what I've seen. I just don't really think that's like in your personality to do unless you're like super duper provoked. Now you're not no punk by no stretch of the imagination, but I've never really seen you like be, nasty to anybody or anything like that. Or even like show a hint of bitterness. I've never seen that. And you said it multiple times how you like, hey, listen, I'm not really feeling dating right now. But I think the way that you've been carrying it is just, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the thing that makes me pause is that I'm getting used to being solo dolo. I'm getting used to my routine. Um, Getting used to this. Hey, being able to snore and fart in peace in my bed. Um, I'm, kind of particular about things. I do get annoyed easy, and I say, well, you know what? Let me just back up. But the thing that I can't remember this woman's name. I share her stuff all the time. She's super deep. Her and her I don't know if it's her husband or her boyfriend, but she said, "Hey, listen, stop focusing on what triggers you." So, like for me, loud eaters they trigger me. Wedge heels they trigger me. Those are kind of like the funny things, even though they do piss me off. But there are other things that do trigger me in relationships. Like I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue. I don't want to go back and forth. So what ends up happening is I end up conceding real quick, like, all right, cool, whatever, you know what I'm saying, have it your way. Or I withdraw. And by withdrawing, that means I'm gonna shut down and strong possibility, I'm gonna just fade away and leave the relationship. Now, I know that that's not healthy, right? Sometimes you have to confront issues and be able to talk them out in an adult way. But because I've had more than a lifetime's worth of arguments in previous relationships, is it something that I'm averse to? So I recognize people arguing with me seems like to be the trigger, but why does it trigger me? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, okay, let me address why I'm triggered so maybe I could be a better person for who I'm with. Have you ever thought about it that way?
Um, you mean in terms of being triggered by something?
Yeah. So if you have triggers, right? So
Hmm.
let's say whatever, you don't have to share your triggers, but if you want to, you can. But like, name one thing that triggers you. And then instead of being like, I'm triggered by this, so I don't want to be with anybody who puts me in this type of mood. Instead of saying that, figure out, okay, well, why am I triggered by that? And how can I fix it to where it doesn't affect me in such a way that, I can't deal with this one particular person when this happens.
I think my trigger is a little different. I don't know if I don't know. I mean, I've said it before. Lying is a huge trigger for me. So it's and the way I analyze everything. It's just I've heard it's a Capricorn thing. I've heard it's an introvert thing. I don't know, but it's something I do. I analyze everything. So when I'm lied to, and I know I'm lied to, then every single thing you say becomes and I analyze it. I don't take you word by your word ever again. So it's hard for me to get over that. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Yeah,
know.
and that makes a relationship tough because sometimes, like me, I talk a lot. So sometimes I may tell a story that has the details that I remember at the time. Then I may tell the story again, and then it may have a different detail. So if you're put in that mode, you'd be like, "Well, you said this the last time." I'd be like, "Hey man, shut the fuck up, man. I just forgot. I'm just telling my I'm just telling my story."
You see, that type of stuff, human things, I understand and I get. So because I have an ex who tells stories all the time. And sometimes he'll go back, he'll be like, nah, and he'll say, nah, I'm lying, but it's not really a lie. It's he missed a detail, so he's going back to fix it. I can understand that type of thing. I'm talking about blatant lies. I'm not talking about you just forgot a detail. No, I can understand that type of stuff.
Yeah, nah, lies, and I think lies are really that should just be a standard. That should just be a rule of the relationship. Be honest. Um, but I think there's some things that can be classified as triggers, like don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. And the reason why I don't like being yelled at, I wasn't really yelled at as a kid growing up. I mean, I got my ass beat by my parents, if I messed up, but I wasn't really yelled at. And to me, if you hollering at me, the very next step of that is me and you fighting. Because I feel like when you yelling, you're getting real close to like being disrespectful, and then it's just gonna go downhill from there. Now I understand, if you in a relationship with somebody and y'all get passionate and y'all voice gets elevated when you get emotional. But if you hollering at me, that ain't gonna work. That's a trigger because like my thing is like we about to fight, and I ain't finna be out here fighting no woman. So then, what do I got to do? I got to bow gracefully, and I'm probably gonna leave you the fuck alone because I don't like what you're doing because of what it brings out of me.
I get that. In that lane, cursing is a big deal for me. I may have talked about this I know I've talked about I was in a toxic relationship, but there was a
Was
time
it
in my
was it
life
was it toxic because of you or because of him or both?
he was a toxic, well, I don't like to place blame. I will say we brought out toxicity in each other. And this is what I was getting to. So
I can imagine toxic, but go ahead.
there was a time in my life where I didn't curse at all. Like I, yeah. Even when listening to a song, a rap song, I would censor myself saying the rap. Like that's how much I didn't curse in my head. When I would think about stuff, I would censor myself even in my head. That's how much I didn't curse. But I was in this relationship. Anytime we argued, it elevated the yelling, then the cursing started. And then you're not listening to me. So again, I told you, I mirror what people give me. So I would give him back everything he was giving to me. And I don't like myself like that. But I noticed after him, the relationship I was in after him, when we got into an argument, first things out of my mouth was curse words.
Mm,
I can't do that.
yeah,
That's because I feel it's disrespectful. It is disrespectful, and I don't want to treat somebody else like that. So I need somebody who can argue or disagree with me without cursing because again, I mirror people, and I won't give that to you if you're not giving it to me. You know what I'm saying? But
I
I've
do.
also had to work on myself to not go there also, which can be hard at times.
I do. I'm a person who curses a lot, and I have been with women who don't like to curse, and they don't like people who curse, but they have accepted the fact that even though I curse a lot, I'm not cursing at them. So I'm not calling them an MFer or definitely not calling them a B or anything like that. Now, I may curse while I am talking to you, but to me, that's different than cursing at you. And I
Yeah,
try to explain that difference to people, and most people can understand. Um,
yeah.
one thing that I don't play the whole do not ever call me the B word. Don't, this is the way I came up, where I was raised, the dudes that I raised. Don't call me no B word. Don't call me no hoe. Don't call me the F word. None of that shit. Cause that's like immediate fighting words. And I was dating this chick, and I told her that because sometimes people play with that word, and I don't play with that. Don't play with that word. Um, I She told me that her thing is don't ever say F you to me. If you say F you to me, here I am. Look at me censoring myself because of you. But if you say F you to me, that's like what you're saying about the B word. And sometimes when you playing around and y'all joking or whatever, you be like, man, fuck you, man. And one time we were having lunch and we were joking, and I slipped up and I said it. I said, man, fuck you. And as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, and I apologized profusely. I said, I'm so sorry. You told me not to do that. I really was playing. Please, forgive me. And she was just like, okay, okay. And she was giving me grace, but I could tell like I really pissed her off.
Mhm.
And I told her, I said, I mean, I appreciate you because like with the roles reversed and you called me the B word, I wouldn't be giving you no grace. So, I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
I understand. So you understand the difference between somebody cursing while they're talking to you and somebody cursing at you, or do
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
like it, or you don't like it at all?
No. I totally understand. Because, like I said, the next guy that I dated after him is somebody who can't go two sentences without throwing a curse word in it, and it didn't bother me because we weren't in an argument. He wasn't, directing those curse words at me. It was just his normal conversation. So yes, I can understand the two. But when we got into an argument, he wasn't the type to use them in the argument. And he didn't get that from me. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's kind of what I needed to kind of get me out of that toxic mode.
I understand. So let me ask you this before we wrap it up. We've been talking about relationships and our standards and what we would do, what we would not do. So this is a would you or wouldn't you? Your partner comes up to you and they say, "Hey, I need like a break. I need a break for like a month, where we can just kind of do our own thing. I need to clear my head to see if this is something that I really want to do." Would you go along with the month long break, or would you just say, you know what, let's just call it a wrap?
Nice. At this age, I would call it a wrap. Because at this age, what do you have to think about? What is it?
Maybe they're trying to figure out like, are they in the space like where I'm at right now? Like, do I have like the mental capacity for a relationship?
I need somebody to know that before they get into a relationship with me.
I mean, sometimes things change, Tay. I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. If somebody were to ask me that, I probably, depending on how much I like them, if I really like them, my feelings would be hurt. I would probably ask the rules of engagement. Like, okay, so is this break meaning that you're gonna be dating other people while we're on this break? Does this break mean that you're just gonna be by yourself, like getting your thoughts together, meditating and praying and stuff like that? What all does this break business, what does that all mean? Um, and then I may entertain it. More than likely, I'm going to consider that a soft breakup, and I'm going to start my transition on to either preparing myself to be alone or finding somebody else.
Yeah. So if somebody asks me for a break, I'm not asking for rules of engagement. I'm going to assume that I'm available to date other people. So if somebody asks me out on a date during that time, I'm going out. And if he wants to come back around, maybe I'll be single, maybe I won't. I mean, if we're on a break, yeah, there are no rules of engagement for that for me. If we're on a break, for me, that's breaking up.
A break, no, but what if you said, nah, break means you can't go fight nobody, though?
Then what are we taking a break for?
I just need a little space to get my mind right.
Again, at this age, he needed to have had his mind straight before we meet or before we get serious.
Have you ever had somebody say that to you?
No.
Me neither. Nah, we've broken up. Like she moved out and moved in with her mama, and we had a break that way. It didn't last for a month though. But I don't know. I don't really understand the whole break thing. I think like you need to be able to effectively communicate and talk about what's going on and allow your partner to help you through it. Because if you have to go on a break, I mean, you are shutting them out of your life. You're letting them know that what, I'm overwhelmed, or something about this relationship isn't working for me, and whatever you're bringing to the table is too much for me right now. And I don't see how your partner doesn't internalize that. I don't
Right.
see how there's any way that your partner can internalize it. Even if you could say, "Oh, I'm going through family stuff. I got stuff at work. My kids, whatever." If I'm not with somebody that can, at least be a shoulder or attentive ear for me to talk to, then they're probably not the right person for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So now and if you tell me on break, I'm definitely gonna try to fuck somebody. Now, if now say you're being lenient and you agree to the break, y'all come back and you find out that he smashed somebody else, are you gonna be okay with that?
Probably not because it's always going to be in my head that you wanted this break so that you could go do somebody else. Whereas, again, I'm thinking about me with my mentality and what I'm okay with. We could have had that conversation. So, yeah, I would not be okay with that.
Yeah, nah. I would I wouldn't be okay with it either. You know what I mean? Like, nah, because again, Why you gotta take a break? You wanted to soft, soft launch that relationship to see if it worked or not, but you still wanted to keep me on the shelf. Nah,
Hmm.
we're not doing
Right.
that.
Which is why I said I will be dating other people. And if I'm single when you come back, maybe. But if I'm not, oh well.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. So, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna be a solo dolo, and I don't know, Tay. We're gonna figure it out. I'm kind
Yeah.
of. I think I might just pull my name out the dating pool for a little bit, or I might keep a foot in it. I don't know, man. But I'm telling you, these Dallas streets, right into the show. CVAD the podcast at gmail.com. If you live in the Dallas Metroplex or wherever you live at, what's dating like where you live at? Because here in Dallas Fort Worth, it is not the biz. And you would think that, being a major city, that, it would be like, oh yeah, it's on and popping. It's been the worst. Like I've lived in Houston. Houston is great. DC is great. I love DC. Atlanta is great, and probably because of the ratio.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
But DC, oh man, that's why I've always wanted to move there. I've always wanted to move to the DMV, and everybody's like, "You don't want to move there; it's too expensive, dude." I'm like, shit, nah, the women love me in DC. But one of these days, I might get there. Watch, I'm gonna get there when I'm like in my 60s or something, and my dick don't work no more. It'd be
Oh,
like,
see.
it'd be like, oh, damn it, I should have came when I was younger. Yeah, but anyway, tell me they can find us.
You can find us at Conversate After Dark everywhere. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or you have a topic you want us to cover, you can reach us at cvadthepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you like the video, share it, subscribe, and leave us a comment.
That's right. Go to our website, www.conversateafterdark.com. Check out our past episodes. We'll you next time. Peace.
Bye.